Hello, welcome to Nick Hutson's ERT. If you're listening on a season pass, if you're listening on Musical Talk, welcome to Musical Talk. If you're watching this on my YouTube channel, hello everybody. This is a very weird thing that we're doing here. Yesterday, on February the 6th, we premiered a musical that I and all my lovely friends here have worked on for the past sort of year about the UK theme park community, which is a thing that exists, believe it or not. And we thought we'd kind of blend the worlds of theme park and musicals and have this kind of debrief behind the scenes discussion. So I'm going to go around the virtual Zoom room here. We have Ryan, who has been kind of part of the creative team from the beginning, and you played the lead role of Jamie. Then me. Then we have Dylan, who is the director, who also played the very difficult part of Dylan in the musical. And then we have Owen. Where do you start with Owen? Owen has been kind of my right-hand musical man for a year, and he plays a character called Sam, and he plays a very mysterious character called the Yen Rav in the show. And we have Keiron. You've actually been on the season pass podcast before, Keiron, where we met at Darren Brown's Ghost Train, the opening day for that. And I want to hear your beautiful impression of Stewie Griffin and Peter Griffin to start off with first, please.
Well, it's very nice to have you back on the show. It's great to be here again. It's been a year. Probably, no, it's been about 5 years. Peter, get over here. How long has it been?
Let me think about this. Yeah, it's been 1, 2, about 5 years. 5 years since we've been on the show, Nick. Yeah.
Hi, Keiron. And we have Leah, who is kind of not a real theme park goon, but you have worked at attractions in the country, and I think you might be turning into a theme park fan. And you've also worked at Disney World, haven't you?
Yeah, I was going to say I'm more of a Disney World goon specifically, but I've worked for Merlin, so I'm kind of there.
2 feet both in firmly the mouse and the wizard. This is a fun discussion, just talking about the show and how are we all feeling after last night's premiere, apart from tired.
Overwhelmed, to be honest with you. Like, the response has been amazing, and everyone has been so generous. We've made £1,700 and something so far for charity, which is incredible. When we set the £500 target, we didn't think we would even make £500. So to get 1,700 is just incredible. So thank you guys so much for all of your generosity. And if you are listening, it's still open, so you can still donate. But it's been really great, and I'm really just amazed at how well it's been received within the community, and not just the theme park community, within the musical community as well, because a lot of people in the musical community have been loving it too. So thank you guys, it's been amazing.
So I think we should start with kind of Ryan's involvement and Owen's involvement, because that was the threesome at the start of the show, wasn't it? To coin a phrase. Crazy. So Ryan and Owen, over to you. Tell us how you came on board with this show when I kind of presented it to you.
Well, I had I'd done just some sort of silly parody songs and some just silly musical projects at the beginning of lockdown, the very first lockdown, and Nick just heard one of these and got in touch with me and said, I'm starting to write this musical, and I've got this opening number that I've written, and I want it to be in a kind of a sort of cheesy rock style.
And it was the parody of Stacey's mum that you did.
Yes,
kind of that kind of 80s rock.
Well, yeah, kind of like upbeat pop rock with synths in there. And so Nick said that this is the kind of style that I want for this song. So I mean, what he presented me at the time was just the basic song, just sheet music of piano and lead vocal line, which I then took and turned into a full rock band arrangement with synths and multiple different vocal parts and everything. And that sort of started my involvement. So originally I just started on just that song, but then eventually turned into just
12
being
more.
involved with the entire musical. Yeah.
Yeah. And Ryan, what were your initial thoughts when I presented? It was so long ago, I can't even remember what happened. You're younger than I am, so you probably have a better memory than I do. So what's your version of events?
I mean, I don't really know where to start. I mean, Nick and I have crossed paths a lot in the past without knowing who each other were. So this is going right back when. And then it was when I got involved in the theme park community, I met Nick. And then through that time before the musical started, Nick used to play me some stuff and be like, oh, can we do that? So at one point I recorded something for Nick, which was for Sunway Lagoon. I can't even remember what happened to that song, but
Neither do I, but
it which is a theme park in Malaysia.
it is, yes.
Ooh, okay, good. That was really bad if I didn't know. So Nick and I had done stuff like that before. So when the idea of the musical sort of crept up, I think the first song that I heard was those Theme Park Friends That We Earn. I remember that being a song that you wrote that wasn't necessarily associated with the musical at the time. And it was this was more than 12 months ago now. This was like when we first started to hear about the pandemic, and there was no lockdowns about or anything. And I remember Nick playing it to me. I went over to Nick's one day. We were going to see some kind of show. I think it might have been Ghost Stories at the time. And I heard it. I was like, I like this. We couldn't figure out how to record it because by the time that happened, lockdown happened, and then the musical happened. I kind of got involved in the same kind of way as Owen, just more on a vocal side, and then listening to it and talking about it and how this should work and where we should go. And it originally started as something completely different to what it is now, but that's in a nutshell me rambling about how it came to be.
But it proves how collaborative this art form is, and the fact that someone can come up with idea, and then the more people you get involved, the better it becomes, which is why musicals is the most collaborative art form in the world, I think. You know, even if, and we'll get onto this, like adding a cameo can just change the whole. If that were a real show, it would change the length, it would change the lighting cues, it would change the music, it would change the scenery. Every single moment in a musical affects everything else more than play and film and stuff like that. So Keiron, what was your initial involvement with the show?
Sure. So about a year, this time last year, Nick, you approached me and said, you know, you've got this idea for this show. Here is.
Well, I was annoying, wasn't I?
I think you sent me the original concepts for the Yenravs number. You sort of the Carnival of Dreams, and I remember listening to that, and I was like, yeah, that's incredible. That's exactly how, you know, I would see this show being in that sort of style. And then you sort of said, well, we might have a character that you could play down the line, and then it went silent for a bit, and then just before Christmas last year, 2020, the year that nobody wants to remember, you sort of came back and was just like, hey, this is where the show's got to. There's now all these amazing people involved, and would you be interested in playing Jack Franciscan? So that's where that came from. So that's my original sort of involvement, where that came from. And then obviously things have progressed as well. I don't know if you want to talk about that now or a bit later on, but
well, obviously Dylan is now where you step into the fray. And Leah as well, because you two know each other from previous attractions that you'd worked at. And Dylan, you kind of lit the fire under the show's metaphorical derriere, didn't you?
Yeah, so Nick told me about the show back in the summer of last year. And back then it was still an idea. It was like he doesn't really know what it's going to be, but he was like, would you be interested in being involved in some way, shape or form? And I was like, absolutely. And then like with Keiron, it went quiet for a little bit, and then the very first weekend in December, Nick messaged me saying, right, we've got to find pretty much a finished product. I really want to get it done. Are you interested? Will you come on board? And I was like, absolutely. And then we had a phone call, and he was like, what can we do? And then I came on board as the director and the coordinator. And at the time initially, we weren't sure whether I would be directing it in that sense of going through and working with the actors and creating dialogue and whatever. But as it went on, it became clear that we needed someone that I would direct it and get the dialogue and figure out how people, the character's motivation for things. And yeah, then I was tasked with getting a cast together and putting everybody together and getting everyone there and ready to do it, we obviously had a few people that we were already attached to this, like Ryan and Keiron and Archie, but we needed to confirm that they were still happy to be involved. So we went to them and chatted to them. And then it came to the difficult job of trying to cast everybody else. And the first person that I cast was Hannah, the amazing Hannah, who played Miranda Timpson. And when I knew that this part was based on somebody specifically, I said to Nick straight away, there's only one person who could play that part, and that is Hannah. And I think for those of you who've listened, you'll all agree that she definitely sounds like the person she's supposed to be portraying.
I think I want to pause you briefly for a second, and just so Ryan can tell us the story, because we're going to be throwing all these names around. So Ryan, as the kind of the protagonist in this piece, or antagonist, depending what your outlook on life is, share it in like the elevator pitch of the story.
I am Elphaba. No. So the story of the show centers around the character of Jamie, who's new to the theme park community, has an interest but isn't really sure of how to go about getting involved in it, and wants to start a YouTube channel. Along the way, throughout this time, he meets the wonderful Coaster Cassie, played by Leah, who's here, and sort of meets all of these crazy characters along the way, as he explores what is the infamous in the theme park community Blackpool opening weekend. Things take a turn when he feels like he's not fitting in, and he throws a bit of a wobbly, decides to spit his dummy out and make up some stuff and do stuff, and things happen, and where he tries to get noticed, and then chaos ensues. And it resolves into what the ending of the show is. I'm trying to say as little as possible, so people listen to it if they haven't yet.
And along the way, he meets a wonderful friend in Coaster Cassie, who is played by Leah. So Leah and Dylan, tell us where you know each other and how we sorted that out.
Well, me and Leah knew each other from Shrek's Adventure back when we were working both as actors at Shrek's Adventure in London. And Shrek is Love. And the day that I asked Leah to be a part of this, she just released her vocal reel on Facebook, and I was like, oh my gosh, Leah is literally perfect for Coaster Cassie. I think she's got that sort of very nice. She's got an amazing voice, first of all, which I'm sure like everyone who's listened to it so far has all said that. And then I just thought she's just got the perfect sort of. She just looks great for that part, and I could hear her and see her as that part. So then I just asked her, and Leah was like, "Absolutely, man! Like, oh my gosh, I just got a brand new microphone for Christmas! Like, oh my gosh!"
I did.
Absolutely. But I'll let Leah talk more about that.
Fate had it in the works.
Like Leah's obviously like you can talk about it from your perspective, but that's kind of how, pretty much in a nutshell, how I asked Leah to be involved.
Yeah, you kind of just hit the nail on the head. That's basically it. We also got married at Shrek a long time ago, technically.
And then I stole her from her boyfriend, and like I'm the Muffin Man and she was Sleeping Beauty. You know, we got married quite a few times actually, and I proposed to how many different things. Wasn't it a hula hoop once that I proposed to you with? And
yeah, it was.
And a cookie cutter as well one day maybe.
The audience were very confused, but
I think we were confused. If anyone from Shrek is listening, we didn't do this, by the way.
No, that never happened. It's a joke.
All Merlin actors are perfectly trained and directed. I want to kind of bring it to you, Leah, because you are, in a way, the irony is that Ryan, a seasoned enthusiast in the community, is playing Jamie, who is a non-seasoned enthusiast in the community, and you, Leah, are playing Coaster Cassie, and you aren't really, admittedly, a big theme park fan. I mean, you like them, but you don't know, and we'll get onto this, but you are playing the kind of the teacher for Ryan. And what was really interesting as regards to changing the piece, we had the read through, I think 6 weeks ago now, and you were kind of saying, oh, I don't know what that is. And we put that then into the show. We rewrote a lot of the things and made Jamie be more of an outsider. And that really worked, because that idea from you, Leah, and everyone else kind of made the show accessible to people who aren't from this community, who might not know what an RMC is, or a cred is, or spoons, or anything like that. And that's what I love about how the show has changed, is we made it about the outsiders really being accepted into this weird thing that we do every February in Blackpool. And I want to explain this. So every February, apart from this one, in the, what am I trying to say? Every February, we, as in the whole theme park community, make a pilgrimage to Blackpool Pleasure Beach, where we ride the first rides of the season in February, and we go to Wetherspoons in the evening and get absolutely lashed, and then go back to the park the next day with slightly hungover and do it all again. And I thought, let's set the musical in that time. And it just so happened to work out, sadly, that we're not allowed to go to Blackpool this weekend. So this whole musical, and we ended up roping about sort of 25 of our friends in to all have cameos in this show that we'd all go and spend time with at opening weekend. We took this show and we made it so it would be released at the kind of peak Saturday night of opening weekend. So we'd all be sitting at home, not being able to see each other, listening to ourselves play people who have gone to opening weekend, interacting with each other. And it's just the most wonderful bit of meta storytelling. I'm not blowing a fire up my own what's it here, but I think it sadly, because of lockdown, it worked really well for the story to hit home. But Leah, how did it feel as an outsider being told about this weird tradition? Because you're coming to Blackpool next year with all of us.
Well, the thing is, like, I thought I was a theme park enthusiast. I'm like, I've worked at Disney. I love theme parks. I go to like Thorpe Park and Chessington like every year. But you guys are just another level. Like, I didn't know what a cred was. I was like, what the hell is this? You said the Velvet Coaster. I was like, I've never been on that one.
Yeah,
well,
which is now a joke in the show. Though I will change it to Velvet. I will change it to Velvet Curtain in the future, because that's a nice theatre.
And to be fair to you though, Leah, the Velvet Coaster was a coaster in Blackpool. It was the first coaster ever manufactured in Blackpool, if I remember, if I'm right with the Blackpool history there. And that's why when the Wetherspoons opened that specific pub, they named it the Velvet Coaster in homage to the very first roller coaster that was built in Blackpool.
It's actually shaped. No, it's actually shaped like a coaster, isn't it? It has a kind of wave on the front. So we love the Velvet Coaster. I'm sorry, American listeners, you're probably sitting there thinking, what the heck is this? But yes, so thank you, Leah, for coming on board and kind of changing the dramatic drive of the piece, albeit unbeknownst to you.
You need that though with like Jamie's character as well, because otherwise Jamie would be lost as well. And like you said, like it welcomes other people into the show who aren't big theme park enthusiasts. So it's definitely needed.
I mean, we had the premiere last night, and it was just the premiere. It was a show on YouTube that had wonderful set visualizations by Keiron as well, who's worked slavishly for many, many hours. I think his partner's going to divorce him probably soon. And just putting together the most theatrical thing that we could. So tell us, Keiron, about your set and, the fact that it is a fully working set. If we had a bit of money, it could exist, couldn't it?
Yeah, so I mean, really it first started about 3 weeks before the premiere. I was in one of the Zoom meetings with the creatives, and I just happened to be with them for a bit of chit chat and talk, and it went into what we're going to do for the video. Are we just going to have near 2 hours of just a logo appearing and everything else? And then bits got spoken around, and eventually came up to, why don't we just do some set designs? Why don't we have something like the show would be there if we were watching it, to then progress forward with the future of the project. There's a starting board now, because we have a bit of time. So yeah, I went away and I haven't slept since. I think I slept Friday night for the first time in weeks, but getting the set down. And it's been a lot of fun, because along the journey I've tried to base it on a real theatre as close as possible. So The fly bars are all practical working fly bars, so we could take it into a theatre and produce it. But also, how do we make the show look like the show? There are certain numbers you need a big set for, such as the NRAV scene of Carnival of Dreams and Spoons. They need to be these big set pieces to really immerse you in the world. Whereas some other sets like the Park Gates, you could just do that with a simple flap. But you would lose so much of the stage if you do that. And just having that one set piece of the Park Gates can really make the difference. And obviously, in a real production, you'd have all the actors on stage and all the dancers, so they would fill the scene up more as well. It was finding the right balance of getting everything just right for a video still. So the lighting that I also put on there, sort of, some scenes do represent more of what will happen. You have your simple spotlight, or you have your coloured power hands coming down. But obviously there are certain numbers where you go, okay, well, these go wild here. These start spinning off and going round, having different gels in them. And if we had 3 months, we probably could have animated it to do that. But then you still lose something in the show, because then it's like, oh, it's all going busy, but there's no one on stage. So if we move that spotlight to the stage and there's no one there, no one but us would know why it's doing that. So just keeping it simple and set towards the middle, I think, was quite crucial to that. And I mean, people would be in the comments last night in the premiere saying, oh, this is great, particularly Carnival of Screams, that ending as well, which I won't reveal in case no one's seen it, but people really loved that. In fact, my partner hadn't seen that part. She had seen bits and pieces, because I was like, oh, I love this, please look at this and see what you think. And I made sure she didn't see that ending. And she was scrolling through the comments last night, and I had it on the TV as well. And when it happened, she just went, okay, that was good. I like that.
Yeah. I hadn't seen that.
Yeah,
I hadn't seen that ending, so like that was a surprise for me.
Yeah, and I completely forgot about part of the ending as well, because without talking about it, I designed the set quite early on with that ending of that number in mind. And then it was only when I was doing the lighting, I went, I've got them, I've modelled them, I've got to then put them in the show. And I thought, fine, well, I'm in this scene, numbered it now, I'll do it. I know that makes no sense if you haven't seen it, but it will. I don't want to ruin that ending.
I think if you're in the theatre at that point, very in the front row, one's eyebrows would be tinged off.
Oh, yes, yeah, absolutely. But no, the whole sort of setting of that, getting it as a 3D model, which is what it's been produced as, then getting it lit, was quite a challenge in the short time period we had. But I'm hoping that it has worked off and people quite enjoy it. I mean, the photos that I've posted online up close to the set pieces, people are loving it and lapping it up. So I'm hoping people really do like that. Yeah, I hope that answers the question. I'm not sure.
And theme parks are great for the stage. I know they're a bit ridiculous and possibly ambitious, but the idea of a theme park musical is silly. But when you think about it, there's so many different characters that love going to these parks, and there's so many groups of people, so you always have an excuse for a large number, or like an ensemble number, and you've got great excuse for visual. There isn't a roller coaster on stage, that would be ridiculous, but theme parks are so colorful and with over the top lighting, and I'm sure, Leah, you'll agree that musical theatre and theme parks, especially the Disney parks, they are the same thing. They are you're a cast member, you're on stage, you're backstage, you're in character, that every time that you, and I don't know what you did at the parks, I'm sure you could tell us, but you are a performer, whether you're sweeping the road or whether you're a face character or a friend of Snow White or whatever it is that one does. It's theme parks and theatre are so inherently one thing, and that's what I love about this project, is everyone involved has either worked in a park or adores parks, or probably both. I think we've all I mean, Owen's a big theme park fan, you're more of a musician, so you bring that side, but everyone else here has worked in a theme park, which is great.
Yeah.
Apart from me.
It's so visceral. It kind of reminds me of Waitress, how they like pump out the smell of the pies and they sell the pies. Like you could easily do that with like popcorn and donuts and candy floss, and pump out the smells of like different rides or whatever.
Salt water to drink.
Yes, I mean, Sorry, I was going to say that almost kind of perfectly segues into a big part of the show in terms of smells. So in terms of, I don't know if Nick, do you want to take this as well?
I've done enough talking, Ryan. You talk.
So something really cool that happened, and I'm not familiar with the origins as to how it happened. So someone who is probably best talking on it. But Aroma Prime is a company that works with not only theme parks but other businesses as well to produce smell pods and smells. You'll probably where I became familiar with them was through Halloween and like scare mazes, etc. And they came on board and produced a theme park fandom musical smell that you can purchase. Owen is showing it right now.
Hey.
Yeah.
That you can purchase, and all of the
Shopping channel.
proceeds, all of the
Beautifully modelled by Owen Evans there.
all of the profits for that go towards the charity, which this musical has been supporting as well. But if
Yeah.
anybody,
To
Yeah.
go on
So-
to what
so-
Ryan was saying about the origins,
Yeah.
from what I understand, Liam, who is our smell consultant for the show, he had reached out to Nick on Twitter saying, "Hey, we would love to get involved with this. Are you interested? Let's chat." And then it became a thing between myself, Nick, and Liam, where we spoke to each other for quite a little bit, and we were saying we really what sort of themes do we want, what sort of smells we want in this scent, and it was very evident quite early on that we wanted the sea air, and I really wanted wood in the smell, because I think that's so important when we're setting to really differentiate between just the normal seaside and where we have set the show. So I really wanted wood in there, and then it's now just a wonderful smell. You've got wood, the sea air, notes of wood, notes of steel, and I think we've got a bit of candy floss in there as well. So it really does enhance your immersion into the show. But that's just insane. Like the fact that a wonderful company such as Aroma Prime just got in touch with us. We weren't expecting that. Like everything that we've done, everything that's happened, we weren't expecting. It was just stuff that's happened along the way that's been excellent.
Because originally this was going to be a concept album, much in the style of Jesus Christ Superstar or Vita or sort of early work things that Ryan would sing on, Owen would sing on, and we'd have a wonderful narration just told in prose by a chap called Harry, who runs a big YouTube channel here in England called Coasterbot. And thankfully, he still was the narrator because it was an audio product. So you need kind of descriptors going on during the kind of action scenes. So we never thought we'd have a smell or even a video or even the cameos that we ended up getting.
Or even set designs, to be fair.
Yeah, and it's just in such a quick amount of time. It grew to something. I know everyone says this about their shows, but it did grow to something bigger than we could ever imagine. Owen, let's talk about the musical theatre side of this as a piece of musical theatre, because you're a big musical fan as well. We all are. That's why we're doing this. But when did we decide to kind of make it also a love letter to musicals? Was that just something that happened naturally, do you think?
I feel like that sort of happened naturally. I think sort of early drafts of the songs were there, but then like little things, we sort of noticed things about the songs. So for example, For All the World to See, which is Jamie's first big number, that song, you'd written that, but then as we were developing the song, we started to realize like, oh well, this is it's your classic I Want song, and it's got bits of The Wizard and I from Wicked. So when we were thinking about the arrangement, we were looking at Wicked and bringing in some of that, and then as the Act 1 finale developed as well, like I noticed that there was some clear Les Mis crossovers with a sort of One Day More type of thing, and you'd done a little bit of kind of having in like as One Day More does by bringing back previous tunes from the show and having them layered on top of each other. There was only a little bit of that, but then I said to you, let's try and squeeze more of that in, because I think if we're gonna go there and do the One Day More thing, let's do it full on and have that full on thing of all the previous tunes coming back.
And it was great in the comments in the video last night that everyone was saying Les Mis, Les Mis, Les Mis, Les Mis, one cred more. Do you hear the people cred and all that kind of stuff? So, whatever.
What would that sound like?
But then we add on to
Do
that.
you hear the people cred?
But to add on to that, do you ride the RMC? We were looking at kind of the song moments for Ryan, and your kind of favorite musical theatre role, one of them, Ryan, is Elphaba from Wicked, isn't it? So we kind of said, okay, we have The Wizard and I, let's parody Defying Gravity musically at the end of Theme Park Fans on the March, which we did. But then you have your bigger song in Act 2, don't you? Which is this kind of, it's the Rose's turn, the kind of or what's it called in Wicked?
No Good Deed.
No Good Deed.
Yeah.
How dare you not know that, Nick?
Sorry.
With this song as well, there's so many musical references in this song. It's not just like, obviously the big reference is Rose's turn, but then the very beginning it's got like a lot of Sweeney Todd reference in there, and there's so much musical reference in one song, which just is a testament to how much of a genius Nick is when it comes to writing, because he just threw so many different musicals into like 3 minutes, which is incredible.
Well, that's a lie, but thank you. The thing with that song, and that was a difficult song to write, because I remember saying to you, Ryan, okay, we need a song. And originally it was going to be like you break the fourth wall and talk to the narrator or something.
Yeah, I can't remember the conversations that came up about it, but I remember having a conversation at the time. The thing with Jamie is really weird, because my brain is sort of split into two with the music for Jamie. I have the creative side where I would talk to Nick and I'd be like, this song needs to happen. It probably, I think we should probably do this, and this. And Nick would be like, yeah, I agree. And then that creative process would happen. But then the performer side of me would go, oh no, I have to do it now. Like, so with something like at that point in the show, I remember the origins, like we definitely had, I remember having a Zoom call and saying, Rose's turn, it just, that would make sense to me, whether it's that's the where that fits, something where it brings back all of the music that's previously.
I think I put that idea to you.
Yeah, something like that.
You got very excited. You said, and I don't want to mimic you here, but I said, I think it needs to be a Rose's turn where like the majority of the music comes back and it's all twisted, and you went, don't toy with me, Nick. Are you giving me a Rose's turn? But that's great, because you took it, and my God, you sang the hell out of it. And this brings me on to the kind of the next topic is, how do we record this? And you know, I'm in the firm belief now that in the last year we have seen a new genre of theatre crop up. You know, these lockdown productions, yes, the TikToks have been very successful with Ratatouille and now Bridgerton. And, you know, we had the parish council musicals popping up quite recently.
My favorite. Have you seen the whole thing with the parish council? Like, okay, somebody's made a musical out of that now.
Well,
I really want to put that to stage.
Flo and Joan have done a musical of it as well. The Showstoppers people have done one. So yeah, I mean, it's just amazing. And Owen does a good impression of it, don't you, Owen? Of the some of the quotes.
No, no, I don't.
It's not what I want to hear. So how do we record this? Turns out it's quite simple. Once you get the confidence into people, like, if you don't have a computer, I mean, if you don't have a good microphone, just so happened Leah was very lucky and Father Christmas gave her a microphone for Christmas. But even like, Keiron, you recorded your stuff on your phone.
Yes.
And it's just, it blows my mind what technology can do, in the fact that, yes, everyone's microphones are slightly different, But if you listen to these songs, some people who've kind of commented on the show said it just sounds like a CD I've gone out and bought, which is amazing. And
Well, I do think that's definitely down to how you've mixed it, in all fairness, because the way that you've mixed it is so masterful that it doesn't, you can't really tell that people have recorded it on different devices, because you've added so many layers into things that's just heightened everything. So I think that really is like a big, like, round of applause to you, because you had that insane task of trying to get everything to sound the same when everyone's recording on different devices.
And it helps that Owen as well is a masterful recorder as well, because you kind of took the mad task, Owen, of not only playing 2 of the major speaking roles, but also recording 95,000 vocal lines for a gospel choir, a big Les Mis choir, a rambunctious drunk crowd in a pub. Tell us about that experience.
Yeah, because, well, I think that's like what Dylan was saying. I think that's what sort of made it work, is I was able to lay down essentially almost a full chorus of myself, which kind of just acted as a nice base layer, a kind of a nice cushion of sound that people could then sit on top of, and it would just sound very homogeneous, and it meant that it sounded like a full chorus, because you always had that bed of sound that I created in the background.
And it was great for me, of course. If anyone's ever had the displeasure of hearing me sing, it was amazing to strip away my voice from these demos. The first bit of singing I got from Ryan was quite emotional for me, because all I'd heard for 9 months was me doing the opening monologue and singing the opening lines. But then to get Ryan's recording, it was almost like a turning point for the show, to get rid of me and put a real actor and a real singer on it, and someone who is suddenly a character that's outside of my head as opposed to a character that's in my head. And we have so many friends in this show, too many to name, but you know who you are, and thank you so much. And for the whole process, that was amazing, to take away, dare I say, even some of Owen's lines and replace them with some, like a female, for example, because that's the difficult thing, is that, and Owen has a story.
Yeah, there's only so much I can do. Yeah.
Without a pair of pliers. I mean, there's only.
Well, I mean, listen to the gospel, you know.
Exactly.
I remember the day that Ryan sent in that very first recording, and I remember how nervous Ryan was to record anything, and we sat down on a Zoom for like an hour, just showing Ryan and giving Ryan like pointers on how to record and what's going to sound better. And then Ryan sent in that very first recording, and both, like, myself and Nick were just like, it just sounds great, and there's a character there. And then everyone just slowly started bringing, like, sending stuff in, and then the show just built up and built up and built up. And I think the very first song that was pretty much finished was the Nerd Cred Tango, and we all just sort of like cried hearing that song for the first time, because it was so amazing to hear. So when I say finished, I don't mean finished, but it was finished in terms of we had the first lot of people singing on that song instead of Nick, and it was just so emotional to hear a finished song with other people singing it.
And especially they're all your friends as well.
Exactly.
It's great, the fact that some people who recorded little cameo lines, whether it was they were sung or spoken, they didn't necessarily know what the show was about. And everyone was so excited to hear it, because all they need do was, I'd say, can you record this line? And for example, we sent it to a great YouTuber called Jack Silkstone, who has a line, it's so big, it's so beautiful. He didn't know it was a joke. He didn't know where it was coming. So, the excitement of him probably listening to the show, hopefully, and waiting for his cameo, and the minute it lands, it must have been great fun for all these people. But it's so, because of lockdown and because of technology, it's so easy to say, oh, can we just re-record that line because we've changed it? 10 minutes later, yeah, there it is, it's done.
And we definitely
and
did do that quite a few times.
we
didn't
did, yes. Tell me about the script writing process with my edits, Dylan.
Oh, wow. Well, okay. So on my computer, there's probably about 20 odd versions of the script from the start of December. So bear in mind,
To the end of December.
I got, yeah, till the end of December. I got the script sent to me quite early when I came on board as the director, and immediately I was like, it needs to be reformatted. It needs to be clear for people to see and read what's going on, because it's an audio recording. You can't really follow what's going on in this version of the script. So I reformatted it. I have nothing else to do, so I was like, okay, sure, I'll reformat it. And then as time went on, and we started adding cameos and adding more lines and changing bits and then refining bits, Nick would phone me every day going, oh, I've got this omission, can you add this in? And I said it before, I think there was only been one day since the start of December that I haven't spoken to Nick, and that was Christmas Day.
Terribly sorry, I should have wished you happy Christmas, because that's very rude of me.
I mean,
P.S. I have a change.
In terms of the creative process, like that was the only day that we took a break from the creative process, was Christmas Day, and then like we've just been on it ever since, and we've been creating it, and then it came to a point where I had to turn around and say to Nick, right, that's it, no more edits, I'm closing the book.
The show.
I'm not putting anything else into this now. This is it. This is the version we're sending out.
But in a way that's as professional as the shows are, isn't it, when you're dealing with a new musical, because there are changes happening all the time.
And I think like we said earlier, it's made it a lot better. We did our first read through on the 2nd of January, and like Leah said, she didn't know what specific things meant and what these lines were. So then after that read through, as you would do in a workshop production, we went away and we refined it again, and we went, okay, we need to make that clearer, we need to add this in here so that people understand what is happening. And then we did that, and we sent that final script out again, and then after I sent the final script out, Nick goes to me, oh, I've got another change. And then I had to send out another final script, and I made, like, no one knows this, so we had a little group, and I put on the group the final script, and then like literally a few hours after I put that on there, Nick brings me going, can you put this in? So then I deleted that one on the group, and I lied to everybody. I said, guys, I put the wrong script up. This is the correct script. Because I was like,
just being honest.
I cannot like admit to people that Nick has asked me to change it again.
What was the change?
I can't even remember. It was
like
Nick asked me to change something, and then I just and then since that day, that's what we've had, and it's been a whirlwind of refining it to get it to where it is. And now all of us that are sat here, specifically the creative team, we're already starting to talk about where this goes
more
now.
Rewrites.
There will be more rewrites, because now we know what bits landed and what bits didn't. We can really refine it and get it to a good point.
Leah, I want to ask you. You have been involved, but you haven't been as heavily involved as everyone else in this discussion. What was it like for you to watch the show and listen to it in its full things, to just hear it all hopefully come together in your head? Was it how you imagined it, or tell us what it was like?
I was really shocked at the animation of it and like the set designs. I thought they were awesome and didn't expect it to be animated like that. I just thought it was going to be the logo, like you said. So I was like, oh, wow, because you guys were like sending me the pictures, and I was like, they're nice. But I didn't realize like they'd be in the video. Do you know what I mean? I just thought like this is like some nice background info. It's going to be in a book one day. All behind the scenes pics. So yeah, that was really cool. What else was it? There was some. I obviously hadn't heard all the songs like you guys had, who were like putting it together. So it was really nice to actually hear them like completed, because I'd only really heard the demos and then my own versions of them without the music, which is so disgusting to listen to your own voice singing without music. You just listen to it, you're like, oh god, no. There you go, have it, take it.
Imagine how I feel.
Hear it finished, and with everyone else in it as well. It was like, oh, okay, it doesn't sound horrendous now because it's got music with it and other people singing. So that was really, really nice. It was really weird, because obviously we've done the read-throughs, but it was like we didn't do many read throughs. We did one or two, right? Two read throughs. So I'd only really heard it twice, like actually out loud. So it was really nice to hear that, and it all just finally like makes sense. Yeah. Cool. And it was really fun to follow it with the chat as well and see how people were reacting. That was great.
I was going to say something. Keiron, you're we do break the fourth wall in this show. If we had a wall, it would be knocked down many times in this show. Tell us a bit about your little character, because I think it's quite sweet, and then we'll get on to the kind of the two elephants in the room, and then we can end this discussion. But it's kind of the fourth wall breaking moments start with you, I think.
Yeah. So Jack Franciscan, who is the operational director of Theme Park Fair the musical, he is sort of a caricature of a really lovely person, and he in the show I sort of see him as a sort of deputy stage manager in a way, because there is a sort of carryover stage manager in there, which if you get who that person's background is, you will understand. If not, then shame. But if you're a theme park geek, you probably should. So I sort of see him as sort of deputy stage manager who calls the shots, who, well, doesn't call the shots, gets told what call the shots is, because Miranda Timpson, who is another big main, she is the big boss of the show. So that's how my sort of character delivers my dialogue, sort of their moments. It's very much they're being told what to say. So like, right, okay, I've got the script, I'm saying it to these people. And because it is now sort of gone from a concept album to more of a theatrical concept piece with the video and everything else, it's that very much, you know, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the theatre. Please turn off your mobile phones. All of that, but done in the character, so it still fits within the show. And I think what's great about it is the interval that we do have in this is also played up as another gag as well, because in real life, that's where you would have a full 20, 40-minute interval. So it goes into that wonderful moments as well. And then, of course, the lovely little ending of, you know, cheers, thanks for that, enjoy your day moment. So I that's where I sort of go for it. Yeah.
I'm just gonna borrow this gag from another interview that someone did with Keiron. I'm just gonna say three words, and we'll end it on this because it was a big moment for all of us. I'm just gonna say Neil Patrick Harris. I'll start. Fans of the podcast will know that I had Neil on about 9 years ago, and we got on like a house on fire because, like all of us, he's a theme park fan, he's a magic fan, he's a theatre obviously aficionado, and all around very, very cool guy. And when we broached the idea of having cameos, we'd already got another cameo, which is John Wardley's cameo, which is great. I thought, sure, why not give Neil an email and see if he will record? Because again, it's the whole, we are all sitting at home. It's not difficult to record a line or two. And it just happened. That's the story. It's it added a whole kind of weird extra level of amazingness onto the show, didn't it, for everyone? And we had little moments like that. For example, our amazing logo very early on was designed by John Burton, who works for the UK theme park industry as a designer. He's like, do you want a logo? I went, yeah, okay. And about 2 days later, we had the brand for the show, and the blue that you see in Dylan's background, and the logo you also see in Dylan's background. That's all part of the branding of the show. It's going to be on a mug. It's going to be on T-shirts. It's going to be on a pin badge. You know, we're looking at this, and it's little moments like that that got us all so excited and metaphorically pumped for the project. But to get Neil a bit close to the end, a bit too close for comfort, I would say, was absolutely amazing. And the difficult thing, though, because it's an audio product, people rely so much on faces to recognize voices. You might miss Neil, and people were saying, where is Neil? He is in there. You just really have to listen and pay attention. But yeah, does anyone else have any closing thoughts?
Yeah, just like, I think what you were saying about adding things like Neil Patrick Harris towards the very end of the production, just I just sort of never expected it to get as big as it did. Like it just kept little things kept adding to it, and it kept getting bigger and bigger. And then even it never really hit me just how important this whole musical thing was for the theme park community until last night when it premiered, and it was all over Twitter. It was all Twitter was talking about. And I think because having been on this project from the very beginning, and to me it's always just been this fun little lockdown project between us, and all of a sudden it's this huge thing.
Yeah, that was the thing I forgot, or I kept having to be reminded about, because I did a couple of interviews, which was great, but I kept kind of telling myself, oh, people are actually relying on this as entertainment, and they are looking forward to it. We had people sitting in the virtual YouTube theater for 12 hours yesterday, just waiting for other people to come in to talk about this experience. And what you have to remember, if you're listening to this or watching this is a time when we would all be together, and we are not. And last night we were, and we have changed some people's views on what it is to be a theme park fan in this community. And if we can do that, that is the best thing that we can do with this show. So thank you everyone for for helping deliver this stupid idea that I had and make it into an absolute ridiculously exciting piece of art. It's a piece of art, it's not a piece of fart. Which
I don't know about you, but I'm excited now to be able to get this into a rehearsal studio when we can all meet up again, just purely so I can hear Leah sing that high E again, because it gave me life.
I'll put it into F sharp, and then it can be an even higher note for you, Ryan.
Amazing.
Thanks. I have a question actually. Was there any like issues with copyright and things like that, and would any of that be a problem if you were to try and put it on?
So the only thing we'd have to look at would be RMC, but that's easily fixed if we could just call it the new MRC. You can look at funny ways around that, but generally when writing it, I treated it as, okay, imagine this is going to the London Palladium. So we don't mention Pleasure Beach. We don't mention Weatherspoons. We mention Spoons, but we're allowed to do that because it's Spoons. So there's, I think we made the right choice. There might be certain things around the Blackpool Tower. I'm not sure if that's, but I think we looked at it and made it not, the actual icon that it is.
So it's very much a caricature of the tower. So the architecture is a caricature of the real thing, and it doesn't resemble the actual. So
but that's a great question, and hopefully not. But one never knows. What's happening at the moment. There's a theme park is suing Taylor Swift for using the word evermore. It's like, well, blimey, don't watch the Beauty and the Beast remake or you'll be shocked.
So I think my closing thoughts for today is that this has just been
Jerry Springer. It's like my final moment.
Yeah, my moment. So my final thoughts are that this whole process has been incredible. As somebody who has been really missing working as an actor and as a director, to be able to do this over the lockdown has been just a joy to do. And obviously we then decided to do this for charity, and we got we're raising money for a fantastic charity that supports people who are very suicidal, and it just added a whole new layer. And I think the real big thing for me is that this show is bringing people together, and is, in my opinion, it is starting to heal the community. There was a lot of things that happened over the past year, and a lot of very valid, important things, and I think this is now starting to bring us together and heal the community and make us a community again.
It's like Band-Aid.
Yeah, exactly. And I know. So just quickly, I'm going to talk about the charity. So the charity that we're supporting is called the Campaign Against Living Miserably, or CALM, and they are a UK-based charity who deal with a lot of things around suicide, and their big thing is to raise awareness of suicide in men in particular. Suicide is the biggest killer of men under 45 in the UK, with 75% of all suicide cases in the UK being men. However, the charity don't just support men; they support anyone and everybody, no matter who you are, what you are, where you're from in the UK. They will support you if you are feeling suicidal, and they have amazing resources, from a live web chat to phone call centres, and it's such an important charity and such an important cause, because especially over the past year, a lot of people have been feeling really low. And I remember saying to the guys here a few weeks ago that when we made this public, that there was a celebrity who had committed suicide. So it's so important that we're raising this awareness, and we're talking about this and making it known wider. So if you are still if you're still listening to this, the whole Just Giving page is still up, and if you purchase, like Ryan said earlier, if you purchase the smell, all the money goes to the charity. So please do consider donating. We've raised just over words. We've made nearly £2,000 from donations already, which is incredible. And if we can hit £2,000, I would be just stunned. But if you
that's $100 from Alan Menken, because why not?
Yeah, exactly. $100 from Alan Menken, who, like, most of you will know who he is. Obviously, he's composed Disney's Beauty and the Beast and Newsies and just amazing musicals. But if you're listening, please consider donating to the Just Giving page. I'm sure Nick will put the link somewhere down in the description. And I think Ryan's going to say something about the how all the roles, all the parts in the show formed.
So something, I feel like this is probably the longest closing of a chat ever, but it's something.
It's like the ending
really
of Les Mis. Everyone has their kind of 10-minute moment.
Something that was really important when creating this, and it's something that's been highlighted with shows such as Six popping up, is that
Six.
what we have to bear in mind is that the roles and who they've been portrayed by and how they've been portrayed in this current iteration of it are portrayed by very talented people across the board. But there's something that we were very passionate about, is not setting any specific character parameters on gender, on skin color, on sexual identity, on your personal preference. The reason the name Jamie was chosen is because it's androgynous. Anybody could play that character. Anybody could play any of the characters in this show, and the message stays the same. And that's something that we were very hyper focused on. It's because right now it's such an important topic, and in a show that's about inclusivity and about acceptance, why wouldn't that be the case? And I whether this would happen or not, it'd be really exciting to see a bunch of people take this show and just go, cast it to whoever you think would play the role the best. And that would really, that's so important. And it's just
quickly drawing on that as well, as the director, obviously I came into this show quite late on in the process, and I had my ideas about who these identities were and their relationships. As a director, you're always taught to connect people's relationships and see who is this person, who's this person's friends, does this person have a wife or a daughter, whatever. And having this discussion very early on, I thought of Jamie as one specific character who was one specific in one specific direction, and then as the time went on, I now see Jamie as a much broader character with lots of different ideas going through my mind about who does this character at this particular point, what is this character's feelings, and how does, there was even a talk where I said, maybe does Jamie in this current time, yes, he idolizes that particular character, does he have a crush on that character? And it made me really think about those specific things that we, as directors, we're always taught about. And I think it's so interesting as a director to come on and do a show that's very open about casting, because I've never done this before in this sort of format. So it's been really interesting to see how my thoughts have changed over the past 3 months of working on this about each character. Yeah, and I think that's just great. It's a testament to what Ryan, Nick, and Owen have written.
Owen, do you have any? I mean, or have you done it already? I'm losing track of everyone's final thoughts.
I think I've done it already.
Kieran, what's your final thoughts?
My final thought is I just think it's so brilliant what we've all achieved. Every single one, no matter how big or small your role has been a part of this, even the audience, you play a huge part in it as well. And as long as the message is still there about friendship and coming together, then every single one of us has done our job as an entertainer, as a performer within this piece. And I think yesterday, watching it live, seeing that in the comments, people were brought back together. So I think, well done to everyone, because it's something that obviously everyone's passionate about, and we can all come back together again and look and love. And it's been such a great passion project, and to see the main creatives, develop it as well, it's been fantastic. So yeah.
And Leah, are you now a theme park fan?
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Although I actually wanted to say, just well done on actually making something original. And I know I said this in the video I sent you, but like, it's so frustrating to see so many sequels and remakes and reboots of things at the moment. So to see an idea that has never been done before, is actually unique, with new characters and new stories, is actually so refreshing. And it's so nice to see that, because I think I've seen so many like parodies about lockdown. I don't want to hear the word lockdown anymore. It's nice to actually imagine being somewhere else other than in a lockdown. And I think that's what people need right now as well, rather than just another lockdown story.
It's interesting you say that, because I remember chatting to Owen, like, do we make lockdown a thing in this musical? Do we say,
No.
oh, lockdown's finally ended, we can all go to the parks now? And I think Owen made the right choice and just said, nope, just make it absolutely timeless.
Because my thought was just like exactly as you were saying, Leah. It's just the far too obvious thing to do, and far too many people are doing that. So we just wanted to do something that was totally escapist, to just let people forget about all that.
Yeah.
Ultimately, like, theatre is all about escapism.
As our theme parks.
If you're putting in the real life situation we're going through right now, that's not escaping.
Learning.
Not escaping what's happening. So I think, it's all about escapism, and we wanted to make people escape into this universe that we created.
That's it. This is a fantasy, isn't it? Whereas if you were to talk about lockdown, that's a very real world show, which this isn't. It's about fantasy of this park. It doesn't exist, but it's referencing other places. So it's definitely the right choice to have made it completely original, like you say, Leah. It's just so refreshing.
Yeah. You could do so much with the venue as well if you put it on.
Yeah, for sure.
So much more potential.
I just already vision that the Carnival of Dreams doesn't just take over the stage, it takes over the auditorium, and it just becomes a massive macabre theatre going on.
Yes.
That's how I want it to look like, and it's just, there's just so many ideas that are already going through my head. Now that this is out there, I've already got loads of ideas to build on as a director. And
actually, an Imagineer friend, our friend Rob Engel, if you know him from the season past, he said he sent me a message on Twitter or something saying, so when are you going to do theme park musical The Ride? Which
that's very apt, because everything is always the ride at the moment.
Yeah. Or
it'd be actually sick if you could get like the seats to move in the theatre.
Well, 4DX is
4D cinemas.
Yeah.
I mean, we've already got the smell, so it's properly immersive. But guys, thank you so much for joining us and joining me on this ridiculously silly experience. And well done to everyone. Let's go around the room where people can find more information about each other. Ryan, where are you?
I'm on pretty much all social media platforms. Twitter, Instagram. I have Snapchat, but I don't use it. TikTok, other things as the real R. Nixon.
Yeah. What's happened to the fake R. Nixon? That's the question I ask you every time.
I don't know. There was an account years ago, but that is a whole other story, and we're wrapping it up. Anyway.
Which brings me, someone has created an account for Jamie, which is hilarious.
I know, little things.
Owen,
like
where are you?
So you can find me on Twitter at Owen_Seawolf. It's SEAWOLF, as in my band, Iron Seawolf, and also on YouTube at Owen Evans Music, all one
Good.
word. I just had to think about that for a minute.
Yeah. Dylan.
I've actually had to get it up on my phone because I can't remember what my hats
We're
are.
getting old.
So on Twitter, you can find me at Dylan DYLAN L Director 1, and then on Instagram, you can find me all one word, Dylan Lee Director. And that's gonna have loads. Hopefully, it's gonna have loads more of my upcoming work because I've got 2 projects that are coming up soon as well. Hopefully, once we're out of this pandemic.
She will be. Keiron.
Yes, you can find me at Scream Effects Co, and you can find that on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and just Google it for our website because that's just easier.
And Leah, we're in the presence of almost a TikTok superstar, aren't we? You're.
I mean, no. I mean, no, not really. But I do use TikTok, and I do a lot of impressions and singing videos, and I'm just Leah Harlin on there, Leah Harlin on YouTube, and Leah.Harlin on Instagram because someone took my name.
Oh,
and I'm also working on a project at the moment as well, another musical. So stay tuned.
very cool.
Ooh.
Very exciting. Leave us with an impression, Leah. Go on, do your favorite impression. Let's hear your Kristen Chenoweth because I know.
Oh,
I know
pressure!
Ryan would be happy to hear that.
Oh God.
Compose yourself.
Whenever I see someone less fortunate than I, and let's face it, who isn't less fortunate than I, my tender heart tends to start to bleed. And when someone needs a makeover, I simply have to take over. I know. Exactly what they need.
So bad. It was on the spot.
That's so good.
What a wonderful ending to this episode, and thank you so much, everyone. Please do go and check out Theme Park Fan the Musical, like, comment, and subscribe, and we shall see you soon. Thank you so much. Oh my God.